What's the most tech illiterate thing you've seen a person do? My professor wants to take a photo with an iPad instead of a phone so that it would look larger when uploaded. That's not how that works. Plus, tablets have awful cameras. Wasting an entire tech budget on peripherals with no computers to attach them to. They bought monitors thinking that was the CPU. Years ago I did desktop support and the people I supported were mostly middle-aged women with zero technical skills. I learned quickly that if the computer was broken they meant the monitor wasn't working. If the modem wasn't working they meant the actual computer. There's a surprising number of people who think the monitor is the computer and the desktop is something magical to do with the internet. Old lady asking someone to withdraw money at the ATM and giving strangers a pin for her card because she didn't know how to do it. She does this regularly. There's a ridiculous amount of people who will just yell their pin to me in the drive-thru to withdraw money because they don't want to fill out a withdrawal slip or use the ATM. Same goes for their SS number. Just a sap. Bank tellers don't want to know your PIN or have you yell your personal info to them. Just fill out your slips and stop bitching about giving them your driver's license. In college, a bunch of us were out in a group in a party part of town. We were accounting majors BTW. We are walking down the street in a big group and I look down and see a card on the ground. I pick it up and it's an ATM card with a set of 4 numbers written on the back. Flip it over and it's got the name of a girl in our group. Girl is a genius that can't forget anything, literally remembers everything. Give it back to her and ask her if that is her PIN. It was. My mom makes a new folder every time she uploads a new picture. She has like 600 folder with 1 or 2 pictures each. She doesn't see the problem. She's just doing that to hide her hentai collection from you. Ah, I could see that. My nana once asked my granddad to turn her laptop on when she got home. He ended up ringing her because he couldn't find the button to turn it on. So she was getting annoyed saying it's right there in the top right corner. After a minute or 2 of utter confusion she stopped, laughed, and asked if he'd opened the lid of the laptop. He asked, "What lid?" Now that is adorable. There's something I aspire to be. My dad, who is 95 and completely computer illiterate, knows that you can look up anything on a computer, but doesn't know the right words. He was talking about an old boxer the other day. I think it was Jack Dempsey. He stated some stats of his career, and when I expressed surprise he said, "Go look it up on your eBay. They'll tell you I'm right." My grandpa died about 2 years ago, and I think his favorite aspect of the internet was that it would confirm he was right about baseball arguments. Especially anything involving the Yankees. The street he lived on was almost entirely retired people, but a surprising number of them owned smartphones, and most could use a computer fairly well. Several times growing up I saw him get in an argument with one of his similarly crotchety friends about some random ass baseball trivia, and he would always confidently tell them to go look it up on your goddamn internet. I'll wait. Without fail, he was correct. Google got its baseball trivia from your grandpa. This girl I know took off the W key on her keyboard and switched it with her A key and was super confused when the keybinds weren't switched. Why would you even want to swap the places of the A and W keys? The dark side of the force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural. I'm in a high school engineering course and we were doing 3D modeling on laptops. This one girl, who was clearly just there to fulfill graduation requirements, used the trackpad every day for over a week, and if you've ever tried 3D modeling with a trackpad, then you know it just doesn't work. Eventually, I asked her why, and she responded, "My mouse doesn't fit," and proceeded to prove to me that her mouse, USB, in fact does not fit into the SD card slot. It still amazes me that a 16-year-old kid who has grown up in the 21st century does not know how to plug in a computer mouse. This is actually good for people like me though. It lets me know that I'll still have a job in 30 years, since even with tech everywhere, people are still dumb and will rely on me to fix their messes because they don't want to learn super basic stuff. It is because those 21st century kids are consumers of the technology. They are not the creators. Most of them would give up when Snapchat stops working. I work in web dev, which includes some occasional photo manipulation. One client brought in an old photo of her great grandfather with his back to the camera. She wanted me to turn him around in Photoshop so she could see his face. Another client got absolutely livid with me that I couldn't take the hyperlinked words from her webpage, port them over to her print ad, and still have them function like a link. All you have to do is figure out how to make the link work on a printed ad and you're the next trillionaire. Or I guess just hand out iPads as a business card. I mean, quarter codes are basically printed links. I work in a cell phone store. I have had on more than one occasion customers get mad at me that I can't access other people's text messages. I had that happen all the time. The worst was a lady that paid her boyfriend's bill and wanted to see his texts, but wasn't on his account anyways. My boss, the guy doing the pad testing, has broken my computer. Me, how has he broken it? My boss, it won't switch on. Me, that's the monitor, switch it on at the computer. My boss, this is the computer. Me, no, that is the monitor. What is the black box on the floor? My boss, a printer? Me, what? We brought my grandpa a new computer monitor and set it up. My hubby and I live about 45 minutes away. We were barely home when my grandpa calls all upset that the new monitor is broken. He keeps turning it on and off and sees nothing. So, we arranged to go back the next day. My grandpa called back a couple hours later to tell us we didn't have to come back. He had just realized the computer was off. It was pretty cute. Using a mouse upside down was pretty funny to see. This was a while ago. How did they use it upside down? Like if the cord was facing you instead of away, with the buttons under your palm. Asked client to restart her computer, and she proceeds to unplug it. That's one way of doing it. The hard reset. Trading computer monitors with someone so they could see how their desktop was set up. Bruh, how did you find out they were doing that? Probably post-its stuck to the monitor gave it away. How could Roger's ML password be Adam123? Supervisor, well, we could ask it, but there's nothing they could really do about it. Because she couldn't identify the issue with my computer, it wouldn't be able to fix it or help at all. To be fair, this is sometimes true. For some problems it is useless, either because they don't have access or just don't have the knowledge. I end up just hopping to the server and doing things myself 99% of the time. We all dread talking to it. Context, I'm in the R&D softwaring department and our it is contracted out to another continent. The thing that bugs me about her attitude is that she wasn't willing to even entertain the possibility that it would be worthwhile to have them check. A guy my husband was friends with back in the day asked for help with a computer virus he had. When we showed up, he had unplugged the computer and everything else in the room. We asked why. He said I didn't want the virus to spread. He was serious. While it likely isn't the case in this instance, given the reference to back in the day, this isn't as crazy as it sounds nowadays. With the advent of smart devices, it's not so implausible that you'd end up with a virus on, for instance, a light bulb or a toaster. In fact, smart devices are often poorly secured, and there have been a few cases of them being hijacked for botnets, for instance Mirai. Type Google in a Google search engine search box. Sometimes I do that so I can see Google's logo of the day when it's a special day. I always think of how I'm now in the stats of the percent of idiots that Google. FYI, it's called the doodle. It infuriates me when I see someone being way too specific with their Google searches and then complain when they can't find anything. What is the best way for someone to remove a stain from their bed sheets but keep the quality of the fabric the same and not ruin the sheet and not have to buy new sheets? Harmless stain removal for sheets. That's just someone who doesn't know how to articulate and form proper sentences. It seems like when tech gets involved, otherwise perfectly intelligent and sensible people seem to just lose the ability to form coherent sentences. Like, imagine some of the gibberish people talk when they're talking about tech, then translate it into car talk. My computer's broken. I can't see the eBay because I have no Wi-Fi. I think I need more internet. My car's broken. I can't see car park because I have no wheels. I think I need more road. My brother had a Zoom wedding 2 months ago. Several relatives in their 60s were taking pictures of the screens. That's kind of sweet. It sounds sweet until you end up being the one person at the last functioning photo lab having to explain why the printed pictures suck. My economics teacher didn't know how to full screen a YouTube video. He was like in his early 20s. That's weird considering how young he is. He was just so unqualified for the job. His father was the teacher for that class before him, and it's so obvious he was only hired for that reason. He was such an idiot. My mom will print out funny memes that she sees on Facebook, and she keeps them in a folder in her filing cabinet. She'll have the last laugh when the apocalypse comes and you're scouring the barren internetless landscape for memes. She'll be a meme warlord with people flocking to pay visits and bring trinkets in exchange for some time in the file cabinet temple. Back around 2009, my dad was pretty sure that partition was just the more official term for folder. Not really sure how he got the idea, but he sure ran with it. That was a pretty painful time, not least for my brother who was studying computer science at the time and was therefore tasked as the laptop unfriker. Yeah, so I made 20 new partitions and it's been acting weird lately. What? I put a partition in a partition. Confused tech support noises. Someone who also insisted on printing anything and everything also covered up the second monitor with a piece of paper because they didn't need it. Everyone there had 2 monitors at their workstation, and it was really damn necessary. This person insisted it was distracting, and there was nothing they couldn't do without it. I've had executives that asked to take the second monitor away. To be fair, they were using early MacBook Airs, so they would look cool pulling them out at board meetings. I don't think they actually knew how to use their computers. I've had the same happen at my job. Some people hate that the cursor gets lost on the second screen. They only want to focus in on a single screen and want the other taken away. My grandfather took 2 buses to work every day. Like in many cities, his city offers a transport pass. He doesn't want any cards, so he paid for each individual ticket in cash. My grandmother told him it would be cheaper to have a transport pass. Once at work, he nearly got fired because he refused to upgrade his computer from manuscript DOS. This was in 2014. He eventually upgraded to Windows XP, which I think stopped being sold around that time. He does not have a smartphone or a tablet. He retired a couple of years ago. That sounds less tech illiterate and more just refusing to adapt to modern tech. That's almost every person that says, well, you're young. That's why you get these computers. I work with phones and people always use this excuse. When my parents upgraded their Mac maybe 5 or 8 years ago, it was the new kind, where there's no tower. They didn't realize that, so they called to say, hey, you only sent the monitor, no tower. The kicker is that the Apple lady apologized and sent another computer. She didn't know there was no tower, so she sent along an entirely new computer. My parents eventually sent one back because they are too honest. Just ridiculous that the rep for the company wouldn't know the absolute most basic thing about their new model, what it looks like. Hey, at least they know the computer isn't the monitor. They're pretty computer savvy for people in their 60s who never had to use computers for their jobs. They're not exporting docs to PDFs or updating drivers or anything, but they can send email attachments and stuff. I'm overall pretty proud. Okay, I've got 2. Both of these are old ladies in the workplace. 1. Need to walk a user through changing of a value. We went through 5 agonizing minutes over the telephone about click this, read the error message, click something else, finally set the value. She says, now it says you have successfully changed the value. Okay, cancel. Which one should I click? The fact she was willing to cancel all of our work just made me lose hope that she understood anything of what we were doing. 2. User says she somehow got her laptop screen turned upside down, rotated 180 and she couldn't do anything, even use the mouse to undo the setting. I confirmed with her that she could see the mouse cursor move on the screen. I said, have you tried turning the mouse upside down? Then you can move the pointer intuitively to click on things to rectify the problem. She said that was a crazy suggestion, and no, it didn't help. Later, she told me that in following my suggestion she had flipped the mouse on its back, like with her hand on the laser and the buttons on the desk. I never would have thought to do that. Whenever I flip screen accidentally or someone does it as a prank, I just try make my brain work in opposite land. Like I've taken a bad potion in a 90s top-down RPG. Oh man. I worked in a cell phone store for 10 plus years and encountered a lot of people who didn't know the basics of technology or electronics. A few of my favorites include 1. The kid who didn't understand why his phone didn't work anymore after taking it in the shower with him to text his girlfriend. 2. The lady that refused to buy a new phone unless I could guarantee she would be able to plug it into her air conditioner. 3. The landscaper who swore at me because I told him I couldn't fix his flip phone after he'd ran it over with a lawnmower, shredding it into tiny pieces. 4. And my absolute favorite was a little old lady that would come in every other week because she would either forget that she needed to charge her phone for it to work or forgot how to turn it back on. After having charged it, she would also sit at the front of the store to listen to her voicemails on speakerphone because she thought she couldn't listen to them anywhere else. Bixby must die at any cost. PTSD flashback to time when you press the Bixby button instead of the volume button. We had a supply for I.T class at school once who asked some kid how to make a folder. He didn't know and said maybe I would know. I didn't know. All the senior citizens in my office used to save Word docs and Excel workbooks in their default folders only. I found out when one asked me why there were several documents and workbooks on my desktop. Blew their minds when I showed them how they could create folders and so categorize and organize everything. Till then their desktops just had program shortcuts and the recycle bin. I did appreciate the fact that they had developed a nifty system of naming docs/XLS as cleaned name year month biz info invoices number and so on, which is essentially how files are organized in folders on a computer if you replace underscores with slashes. Please note that these were extremely intelligent people who were awesome at their jobs. Computers just came very late into their lives. That's a slippery slope. My parents' desktop has always been cluttered with random files for years with no rhyme or reason. Mind you, they are not technically illiterate, just they put random stuff on the desktop. It baffles me. Had a lady in her 40s bring a new laptop into the shop that I worked at many years ago. She said she bought it brand new from Best Buy the day prior, and now it was completely dead and wouldn't turn on. She put it on our table, and we hit the power button. She's correct, nothing happened. Then we asked for her charger. The what? Yep, she had zero understanding of laptops using batteries, or electricity in general I guess. So we had to explain what a charger is, that she would need to plug it into her laptop when it was low on battery. Was that supposed to come with the laptop? I didn't get one of those in the box. Besides I already threw the box away. So we sold her a charger. Luckily it was a Dell, so we had plenty in stock and she went about her merry way. Read a story on here once, not sure if it was true being from an internet stranger and all, but it was funny. Guy worked at a PC store and a woman came in asking for one of their wireless power supplies. After confirming that she wasn't referring to Wi-Fi or a modem or something like that, she indeed wanted something that could transmit electricity to her computer via air. He told her that technology like that does not exist yet. She got very upset with him for lying to her, as she had seen this technology in action many times, and called him an idiot for not knowing about it. She asked to see the manager and he replied he can't see you right now because he teleported to Tokyo for a meeting. I have to admit I was under the same misconception about wireless tech when it first came out. However, I was a child and I also figured it out on my own without telling anybody until now.